So, our lecture, the first one, on text stylistics. My name is Tatiana Suvorova, as far as you can see, and we're starting our lecture. Well, first of all, of course, we shall start with the terminology and general words and meanings and such like things in order to understand what we are going to do and to operate and communicate efficiently. So we start with the word stylistics because our course it is text stylistics, and we should deal with obviously two main terms. It's stylistics and text today. So then, what are the main questions to discuss? Generally, from the viewpoint of stylistics and organizing some text ideas and thoughts, and take into consideration recommendations of psychologists, we should have only 4 or 5, maximum 7 points that our mind can grasp and okay, and remember. So for that reason, there are 7 maximum. Yeah, better when it's 4, of course, because it's comfortable for our memory. But nevertheless, we'll try to speak about these 7 items. Okay, so the main questions. What is stylistics? Of course, it's what we're going to discuss. The purpose of it, the outcome of stylistics, what's for, we're going to do that, and generally why you are there on the course, what's the use of it for you, what is the difference between literary and non-literary text, what are the levels of stylistics, and what are the features. Let's move. I'd like to start today with Edward Cummings. It's one of my favorite poets, an artist generally, as far as you can see. It is his creation, his self-portrait. And already here you can see some stylistics. And so we are going to speak about the style and the text, of course. But first of all, when do we use the word style for stylistics? Yeah, because it's connected with the word style. So where do you usually, or what are you associating with the word style? Can you give me some hints into the chat? I could, yes, maybe have some ideas of what you understand under that, behind that. So generally, guys, can you write some ideas, please, in order I could see that you are here with me. You can, of course, have also some type of tea or coffee like me, just to enjoy our communication. That's also I'd like you to hear me and to react to my tasks. Yeah, not only just being passive. Well, yes, with the fashion. Thank you. Yes, usually we can come across with style and fashion where we can use it. And of course, while speaking about style and stylistics, we speak about accessorizing and presenting our thoughts and ideas, and not only through the text, I mean text, linguistic text with words and some punctuation marks. It's also about different types of presenting our thoughts and ideas. And for example, here it is the drawing, painting, yes, presented by artists, some ideas, but also it can be dancing, singing, I don't know, performing any other arts, for example, architecture, and music, of course. We have some yes, emotions, ideas, and so on presented through different types of means. So means that are heard, yes, and that we can at least see, hear, feel, touch, and so on. So these forms that really exist and we can observe and perceive with our senses, they lead to the world in the world, which is in our mind, and we are trying to present it. So that is for that reason we speak about stylistics, because each individual try to find the best version of himself or herself in presenting the thoughts and ideas. Not always they are successful, but yeah, sometimes we don't like what we have the result of it. Sometimes we are happy with this because it everything depends on our skills of using different forms. In our case, and during our course, we are going to discuss different connections of different arts, not only linguistic means, because so generally when we come to the term text, generally the word text covers nowadays a little bit more than just words of some language. Here it is, for example, why I've used comics, because we're going to speak about him today as the poet, and his poem will be the example of our today's lecture. But I wanted to start with this painting because it's also about him, about his world. He presented, he viewed himself in such a manner. And so further, you will see this real photo, and you can compare things in the way Hassan sees himself and present himself, and of course, the reality that fixed by the photo. Well, that's another his painting. I'd like to use it to illustrate and go forward in explaining you the generally what is stylistics. So when we speak about the language, because mostly we during our course certainly will deal with language means of presenting some ideas and thoughts, and the way they are organized and the way they skillfully or not skillfully, interested, not interested, boring, or I don't know, somehow magically represented some thoughts and ideas that catches our eye. So it all depends on our background, on our experience, on what we have inside us, and the way we use our senses to perceive the information from the world. Because what we see, we can understand, or generally we can't understand. It depends, as I mentioned, on our inner way to perceive, yes, the world. And if we don't have enough of knowledge, we don't have the logics of what is, for example, presented, we cannot figure out what's that. For example, it often happens with some abstract paintings that we cannot just interpret. So that we consider it to be absurd. No idea. That is because, not because it's absurd, yes, it's absurd for us. It's not generally absurd. Maybe the author tried to show us something that we can take as really something only within some knowledge about this something. Yes, so now I speak quite abstract, just the way this abstraction is here, because so generally arts and means to present our thoughts and ideas, they're so vague and abstract that sometimes we cannot even present it properly. Yes, even with the language, even with other means. But here, obviously, that we can see, and each of us can see different things. But what we can see for sure that there is some structure, some levels, maybe, yes, some lines that organize the perception of this whole, or as the picture, and also presented by Camille. That is because I want you to involve into his personality, and to show how important is this background for understanding and interpreting texts properly. Yes. Well, so we can't understand clearly what is meant here. Obviously, the author wanted to present his world or something in his mind maybe some emotions, feelings, or whatever, like here, fourth dimensional abstraction, that is the name of that painting. And we know that we can perceive in three dimensions only. So it is the fourth dimension that is okay, somewhere, something abstract already, and the way the author sees it and presents. And nevertheless, through the classes of math, well, we know in physics, we know that it exists, and even more dimensions we can find out. But nevertheless, as far as we as people and human beings being limited in our by our body and by our mind that can give us some understanding of the world, we clearly understand only three-dimensional world. That is height, yes, length, and depth. That's all. And the rest our mind can create, and we can understand only abstractly. So the stylistics, it's something like this. It is the highest competence of language acquisition, and it is based on our ground knowledge, good knowledge, basic knowledge of grammar, lexicology, phonology, and usage, practice of using the language. That is why stylistics is always difficult, because for proper interpretation and proper creation of something, if you are, for example, in the role of the author, that you should know everything about language properly in order to create something specific, the way Cummings did, for example. So then to make some definition, yeah, to come closer to stylistics, you can see here it is the definition given on the slide, and it is connected generally stylistics with the interpretation of texts from a linguistic perspective. But you will understand why I always give this like a little bit stop or pause before just given the term, because I want you to understand that background and knowledge and your experience and nationality, all those things, they matter in stylistics and in interpretation. And that's not only about text, and you will understand why a little bit later. So it includes the use of dialect, including original accents, you see, yes, people's dialects, descriptive language, use of grammar, such as active and passive voice, ability to enforce many other things. That is stylistics. It is the highest competence which contains the knowledge about language with plus, of course, the knowledge of culture and many other things. Okay, so then the study of, I can't see a little bit of literary discourse from a linguistic orientation. It's maybe more general too, but I like it more because the term discourse, it is not now, but more generally, and studies, yeah, different studies compared to other studies. It is a new trend to study discourse, that is practice, that is language in practice, situational, conjectural, and so on. Because each time you take the poem, for example, the text, you interpret it, you perceive it differently, okay? Because generally, our perception of the text and interpretation depends, on what? On our emotional state. So if you are today in bad mood, you perceive this text differently than when you are in a good mood, you see? And that is why it's about discourse also. Discourse, it is situations in which you practice a language, okay? Well, so what's our role during the course then? We will use this model taken from the theory of input-output text mining to generally understand what we are doing. So we have three, while dealing with text stylistics, we have three roles, major roles. That is the author, who put some ideas, yeah, and you see that it is really some kind of work, because maybe hard work, because you can see that a person here, yes, there was some tool that obviously shows that it's not really matter to formulate your ideas and thoughts, especially emotions. That is what we cannot generally measure somehow. We can just keep in our mind and understand it only individually. Each emotion, its own individual experience. And how to translate this individual experience to another individual, it's the question of this work. And the most successful authors, world famous and so on, they really masters of the word. So then we have some text, and we, with you, uh, during the course, in the position of that worker that should mine the text deep inside, yes, find out the senses, act into that text, and so generally collect some harvest. Yeah, we can be satisfied with that, or we can be not satisfied, and then we consider that this text is really something absurd because we cannot understand, we cannot find that piece of gold, you see, that we are looking for. Well, so everything, of course, is a little bit not that easy as it is described in the scheme. So that's when we speak about stylistics. We know that it's about the way, the manner to present some thoughts and ideas, to accessorize our text, to trim it the way to be individual, to attract attention, to so generally be interesting to somebody, in order they could have the desire to at least listen or read what we have created. And then what is the text? So generally it's a difficult question again, because as I mentioned to you, it's not only about language. So we can just for beginning take this definition, a piece of spoken or written language. But what is the language? The language, it is something that is fixed in dictionaries, fixed in grammar rules, because these rules prescribe us how to use this language, yeah, to create something. And yeah, in fact, the text, it is the result of using, of function in the text. It is the speech, it's not language. Language, as I mentioned, it's something that we can learn. But the way we use it, it's already speech, you see? And we create text, they are always individual, they are not the same, because they reflect our experience, our situation, plus language knowledge, you see? Plus what we would like, we add some feelings, we have some, yes, specific seasoning, like in cuisine, yes, and we create something specific. So that's not only about language, it's about the functioning of that language. Then, a text may be considered from the point of view of its structure, its functions, for example, warning, instructing, carrying out of transaction, and so on. Yes, really. So when we see the text or hear the text, we perceive it not only just like, I don't know, word by word. We perceive it in general. We take consideration into consideration if it is oral presentation, of course, the tempo of speech, the so if the person is calm or not, we perceive this information as well. Whether it is, I don't know, not only the tempo, but the speed, yeah, but also accent. We perceive some individual characteristics. And we pay attention to structures, whether they are correct from the point of grammar and we can easily understand, or maybe there is a violation of grammar rules, and then we, okay, also should decide whether it is deliberately used, and then we treat it as maybe some creativity, or it's generally because the person is a little just, and then we have a specific attitude to that person, unfortunately. So yeah, we pay attention to structures and the functions of those texts. Then, a full understanding of the text is often impossible without a reference to the context in which it occurs. Yeah, that's for sure. And I will show you, I will give you some illustrations just after that slide. And a text will be defined as a communicative occurrence which meets 7 standards of textuality. So also we will discuss them because, of course, as far as you understand, if we're speaking with you today, yeah, in academic context about some discipline, this discipline has already at least a number of theories explaining the state of events in that discipline. And of course, there are some already fixed rules, what is considered to be norm, what is considered to be the violation of that norm. So we also will discuss these in the other yes slide. Well, for example, I want you to pay attention to this text. Have a look. Full understanding of the text is impossible without the context. If I just put it on the board, 3 words, bad weather ahead, is that attached to your mind? Could you put the plus or minus into the chat in order I could see whether you perceive it as a text or just as 3 words? So yes, they are connected, what combination, but is that a text? If it is a text, you should interpret it and understand what it's for. Yeah, because usually the text is created not just to exist, but to inform about something. Thank you, Violetta. Yeah, I see your point. Okay, yes, guys, thank you. Uh, yeah, really, it's not a text for us right now. It's not a text. And that's it, because we do not understand what it's for. You see, it's not a text. It says of nothing. We do not understand what. Yes, we can put the past in bad weather ahead and what. What's for? We should know about that. So when you create your text, you always have some purpose. The purpose usually of the text, so that is what we are learning in text stylistics and stylistics generally, is to influence the listener or reader, that is the addresser of this text, is to influence the emotional state and to receive the feedback, some reaction. So that is when you create your posts on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whenever, yeah, in social media. Nowadays it's very popular. Me too, I create, I know what it is, and of course, as far as I'm linguist, it's interesting for me. I use different platforms and I try my hand, not because of having an account, yes, but in the purpose because I'm a lecturer and I'm a scientist and I'm interested in the effects that they create and the possibilities that this platform, the social media, give us as an instrument. And for that reason, I clearly know that there are some posts that are not successful. You expect your friends, your subscribers, react to that. You don't receive the proper reaction. You don't receive very likes or comments or whatever you'd like to, and you are unhappy. That it shouldn't be. That is just the instrument for you to reconsider and to find a more efficient way of communication. Your text doesn't work. Why? Because of the context. Have a look. Bad weather ahead. Is this a text? What do you think? Is it now a text? It's just that we added some background, yes, and put it into the frame. Yes, of course, Alex, thank you very much. Yes, it is a text already for the driver, for example, also even for us, just sitting in our, for example, me sitting in my comfortable chair. It is a text because I understand why it is created and what's for, and what is the final, yes, that it should warn the driver or me as the driver. For example, I can imagine myself, our mind gives us, hopefully, we can imagine everything. That is how text stylistic works. So we can imagine everything, we can reconstruct or create any world in our head, in our mind. And that is, yes, the purpose of text stylistics, that to make these innumerous worlds exist in our mind. Okay? Well, and our purpose as readers or listeners reconstruct those worlds. If we cannot, as I mentioned to you, we can simply to excerpt. Well, so then moving to more academic, yeah, facts of our lecture. So then what is the purpose of stylistics? To describe the formal features of text. Why? Because you, as generally users of the language, you have always that purpose when you open your mouth. Once you open your mouth, or you take a pen, or you take some text editor to write something, you have already in your mind the purpose to influence somebody. So that to do that, we should be efficient. For that reason, we should know the features of the text, not to waste your time. You see, not to be happy. If you want to be happy, you should create nice text. Your speech should be also nice and attractive to other people, and you will collect all likes of your friends, your followers, subscribers, and your beloved. Okay? So generally in your profession also. So that in order to show their functioning significance, of course, we should learn what for we are creating that, what is the result, what is the final result. Depending on that, we will choose the mean, yeah, which we need to be efficient in this situation or in the other situation. And of course, for the interpretation of the text, so proper interpretation, it's also practice, and we should practice a lot in order to be skillful in interpreting some different texts. So then, stylistics, stylistics analysis involves the analysis of various styles. We will discuss what it is, what are the various styles used in language to, to derive the desired meaning of or theme of given text. And the styles can be, like now, it's semi-official because generally in a lecture, of course, you expect me to deliver some structures, linguistic structures, clear, understandable. So proper grammar should be from me, yeah, proper pronunciation we expect, yeah, in order to understand the words in English. And of course, your proper explanation of the topic. But I do not use this highly elaborated style, academic style of, for example, scientific papers, where we use only passive voice, so highly fixed phrases, cliche, and so on. That should be. Yeah, I'd like to be in one maybe way with you to have your attention. For that reason, I use a little bit lower of my language, closer to spoken language, but not at the very bottom of that. Yes, I do not apply maybe a lot of slang or something like that. A little bit, just just to sprinkle my dish today. Yes. Okay. Um, well, so yes, it's about authors, literary works, poets, and so on, and their way to convey the message to the reader, but some hidden patterns. Well, moving to the meaning that I mentioned to you, I'd like to use this illustration of Carré Noir sur fond blanc of the Malevich. I like it very much because as you know, there are a lot of discussions that everybody can draw something like that, like square and the top. Yeah. Yes, certainly we can do that, you and me, but they won't be uh, assessed, yeah, valued the way this black square by Kazimir Malevich. Nobody will pay us as much money as they pay for this painting. Yeah. Why? Yes, as I mentioned to you, interpretation and value that we give after the interpretation to the text. And here it is also the text, but it's graphical one. Why? Because behind this graphical text, you really have to reconstruct the whole picture of the universe because black and generally so the uh, modernist techniques and modernist ideas of that period when the author created, yeah, and so on and so forth, the whole philosophy. So we should know a lot of things in order to interpret that painting. And this text, this message that author was trying to deliver through his work. Well, but it is graphical presentation. Today we shall speak about the meaning of graphical presentation and yes, we will analyze the poem that I promised to you by Cummings. But here, let's have a little bit attention to also some academic and some terms that we need, academic issues. Well, so what are the principles of stylistics that we are looking in the text? No matter which text, it can be painting, as I mentioned to you, it can be words of some language or combination of different languages even. It can be, I don't know, your outfit, yeah, for example, mine and hairdo, for example, and so on, different accessories that I've used. That is because about our personality. That is what about the stylistics is looking for. It's looking for some style, some individuality, and what we're trying to show through it. Yes. So then, what we shall pay attention to? Sorry, we shall pay attention to the foreground. Foreground, it's the opposite to background. So background, you can see the background, it is what is behind, just to create some atmosphere, to give some context, to direct your interpretation, yeah? And foreground, it is what is highlighted, here it is, yes? Highlighted, what is dominant, what is important, what should direct our interpretation as the readers or receivers or addressers of the message. Of course, we shall speak about the norms. Everywhere we have some norms. For example, within lecture, I cannot just put on my slippers or my pajama and come to you. Yeah, obviously that I should dress somehow in another style. Yes, but maybe because of me and my personality, I do not like jackets and smart suits. Maybe I like it. I don't want to wear them today because of my special mood and so on. And for that reason, you can see me with a plate, for example, with some accessories of that type and so on. That's it because I want to be like that today, not the other way. And these norms, academics, they allow me to present myself like that. Okay? So, and you, for example, as student, by the way, you can be in pajamas. You can lie in your, I don't know, in your bed or sit on a chair. Or just, I don't know, you can be in any, just like today because you're working without cameras. In general, you feel free to be yourself. Yeah, more yourself than me. Yes, I am myself, but I am within the norms of academic lecturer, okay? So nevertheless, yeah. And then, of course, deviations. That is important for stylistics. First, you learn all the rules, for example, of the language or of behavior, that you should behave properly. What is considered properly? It is prescribed in some book, yeah? So the teachers at school, they teach you how to behave. At home, your mom and dad, they also teach you how to behave, what is good. Yes. And in language, you learn grammar, what is good. That you should use articles in the English. You should use subject, verb, and then object in the sentence. You should, I don't know, use end in s to present the plural form of the English. No. So, and then when you have learned all that, you try to play a little bit because we are all children. We stay children to the end of our life and we like playing games. And we play games with the language as well. How? We violate these rules. Okay? So that is the way, the degree we can violate. And the way you violate those rules, it can be subtle and very elaborated, and we like it and adore. And of course, it can be rude. Because of illiteracy, it can be really unpleasant. Okay? So these are three principles that we use in every sphere and in stylistics as well. And yeah, dealing with the text, certainly we will come across different types of text because I have given you the example of this text, yeah, and it's not literary text. You see, it's just informative text to warn us. The text can be different. We will interpret all of them and we should be able to create all of them because we need what? Once we opened our mouth to influence other people. Well, the literary, it's easy. You understand, I suppose, at once. That is some work of art in various literary genres. And they create the masterful usage of language. And we are astonished, we are impressed. We, or maybe not impressed if we do not understand or we don't have proper background for interpreting the text of some kind. So, but nevertheless, at least we are not indifferent. Yeah, that is what concerns literary texts. We are either like them or don't like them. Non-literary texts, yeah, we can be neutral, we can just not notice them. Sometimes we do not notice because they are not very attractive. They can be informative, for example, or they can be instructive, so we can read and forget at once. You see, so they should be clear and so on. And here we shall speak, but yeah, some of them, like advertisements and so on, they can be quite attractive because generally that's the purpose of an advertisement to greatly influence the reader and make him or her go and buy your product. Yes, for that reason, yeah, they are really catchy. Newspapers, that depend, songs, maybe not very successful and as well as successful, so everything depends. Movies and academic books can be quite boring, yeah, as you know, but not all of them. That depends on the skills of the creator. Well, finally, we come to my favorite word. Why my favorite, I will explain you a little bit later, and I think you will like him as well. So that is a real photo of Cummings. Just compare things, how he sees himself uh, and his auto portrait here. And so real Cummings in the photo here. Well, let's pay attention to the lines from his poem. Have a look. I carry your heart with me. So it's English because I have French version for French students, not today, another lecture. It's don't pay attention to this word. Certainly, it's in English because he's an American poet. But I have the version in French. Also, I like it very much. Very skillfully translated. Not today. So I carry your heart with me. I carry it in. So can you think about continuation? What's the next word? I carry your heart with me. I carry it in. But don't look, please don't look through the internet. Of course you can find easily. So just give me your idea. What do you think? What is the next here to be given? I'd like to have some ideas from you, because I have automatically in my mind one word. I carry it in. Where can we carry something? So that is what my first idea. Maybe you have the same. I'm not sure. Maybe you have some different. Can you put down into the chat some word that can be like continuation of that line? So I'm waiting. Yes, okay. In the pocket. Yeah, so you know, it also my idea was in the it was just automatically because we carry something really in the pocket, in the bag or whatever. Yes. But Cummins used another word. Yes, thank you, Alex. Also, about your idea, very nice. Well, what is specific here? Have a look into the line. So not about the meaning, it's pay attention to the form now. Can you see any, okay, something that is really not correct, maybe strangely organized? Have a look at these lines. Have a look. What can you notice here? Pay attention to the words, to the, so generally presenting the words in the line. Do you see anything strange here? Not correct, maybe. The teacher would correct at school. That's for sure. That at school he would receive bad mark that for that spelling and so on. What is incorrect here? Have a look. You see, in English, it is the center of the world. That is why it's always written with a capital letter. Okay, and here it is with a small letter, with a regular. You see, register. Then pay attention to this. Just, you see, bracket close to me, the word. No, we can't see any space. Yeah, no space. Why? That should influence your interpretation. Okay, so that is what I would like to mention. The way the author presents, it's not just about words. No, it's about form, about meaning, about syntax, about correctness and incorrectness of grammar, you see? And this all influences our perception. So it means that yes, in his perception, Cummings' perception, okay, I'm just like other people. I'm not the center of the world. I'm just like others, one particle of that world, you see? And secondly, with me, it means that you are inside me. You see, this closeness of this bracket without space also shows that, okay, this closeness that is part of me. I carry it, your heart. Yes, it is part of me. Yes, and right, we will continue to see, of course, the whole poem. But first of all, different interpretations of this line. That is about variety of interpretations, and that is the idea about there is no correct or incorrect interpretation. That is what you should understand at once. I cannot assess you with a high point or low point for your interpretation. Never. And that always, me being a student of school, I was always shocked when the teacher asked me what is the main idea of that text, yeah, of that poem, of that novel, of that what the author wanted to say. I don't know what he wanted to say. You see, I never knew what to answer. I was always shocked. Why is that everyone should give this answer, which is written in the book? Okay, the main idea of that novel is that, and we have the definition. That's impossible, you see. That is the main idea of that novel for the author who wrote this article, but not for me. I could find something else in this line different from, because I don't have, as a child, of course, I couldn't have that experience of that person who wrote that book for the children at school, you see. So, of course, it was not close to me. I would mention to you that I was a good student. I finished with the best marks and so on. I presented my school in different Olympiads and so on. But nevertheless, I was always shocked with this question. What is the main idea? Could you tell me? No, I can't. I should think. I don't know what author wanted to say. I just know what I have found out in the text, but I don't know what he wanted to say. Maybe he wanted to say something else. And that is the illustration. And I like now this tendency that nobody is pushed or forced to learn these definitions. What is the main idea? Because we all have our own idea of this text, of this poem, of this novel, and so on. And that is good. That is good. Just look at this. When a mother, yes, waits for a baby, she thinks about the baby in her heart, you see? And that is why this is the illustration to this line. Or, for example, this one. Why not? It's also possible. Why not? It's good. I like it very much. But, for example, for me, as an adult person, and for example, for me, the relationship between a man and a woman are important. Of course, I interpret it a little bit in a different way than, for example, this author interpreted. Let's speak a little bit before interpreting the poem about Cummins himself. That is, now you know that he's not only just the person who wrote some poems, and he was the second popular author in the United States in his time after Robert Frost. Well, so can you imagine? Yeah, he was very talented. And now you can see that he was a poet, painter, essayist, author, playwright, and he was a driver during the First World War. He was a driver on an ambulance car in France, by the way. Because as an American, he was sent to France to help in this conflict. Yeah. Well, so his originality you can perceive from his signature, for example, and these are the way he signed his works. You see, sometimes with low register, that is to show that he's not that great big person. Yeah, he's famous. He has his personal name, even two names, yes, but he just to show that he's part of this world, not yes, standing out like foreground in stylistics. And by the way, for you to know why is he's so talented, that is because from his childhood, his father was the professor at Harvard University. And yes, he always communicated with philosophers, I don't know, literary critics, and so on and so forth. So he had a very nice background, you see, to get ready to present something. Now, that is the whole text of that poem. And yeah, so we'll just have a look. It's quite specific, as you can see. It draws attention because it contains no capital letters, even in the name of the author. And I like it much, just to illustrate it. But it's not correctly presented, nevertheless. So I tried to find you the correct presentation in order we could analyze with you the formal characteristics of the text. And for that reason, sometimes be aware that when you do some research, like me, I'm a researcher. For that reason, for me, very important to find the original, the first version, because these are reinterpretation already. Somebody's interpretation, and I want to see Cummings presenting, yeah, his poem. We'll return back to that a little bit later. So, take into consideration what I have mentioned to you about the text and about the style. You should understand that once we use language present our thoughts, ideas, emotions, and so on. Here's language. Yeah, we use words. In this case, is the English language. It's important for us to pay attention to different language levels and analyze this text in these all levels. Phonological, the way it sounds. Yeah, grammatical, the way we use structures, not we, but the author uses the structures, grammatical, punctuation, so on, to present his ideas and thoughts. Lexical, so the way he chooses the words, which words, and so on. Yeah. Graphological levels, that is for sure. So if it is, for example, the text like a poem, so we should analyze the form, generally the way it looks like, stanza, how author divides this text into logical parts, lines, the way they are presented, have a look. You see, he has divided, but not always the same manner, and it attracts attention because usually we see, for example, four, four lines together, or eight, 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 six, 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 yeah, and so on. But here it is, you can see that it's like just mass here. The same lines, they are not of the same length. They are organized specifically, not with a capital letter, and so on. So we pay attention to this rhyme, whether it contains repetition, punctuation, and so on. So phonological, I have mentioned to you that we pay attention, but from the point of view of stylistics, we pay attention to rhyme, alliteration, consonants, assonance, that is how everything is repeated to create this rhythm and melody of the poem, if it is a poem. But the melody and rhythm also exist within the prose. And that is why we also pay attention to these details. Okay, so phonology, I won't stop here just because I want to analyze the poem, because we will return back during further yes, lectures to these points that reason just to be aware that each level contains sub-level to pay attention to in order to interpret everything correctly. Not correctly, but fully, deeply. You see, because as I mentioned, no correctness or incorrectness here. Well, so then lexical materials, whether they are archaic, neologisms, collocations, different footnote words, and so on and so forth. And with grammar. Grammar is essential because without grammar we cannot generally understand the meaning, and that is why it's so difficult to read modernist and Hammond is the representative of that trend in literature, modernism, not only literature but in art. Modernism, it is the beginning of the 20th century, and but he's easy to read because these are poems, they are not so long, and we can at least find out some logics. While, for example, if you take the literature of Great Britain and, for example, James Joyce with his stream of consciousness without punctuation or marks, it just the thought begins and ends in the end of the book, and no punctuation mark, no division into sentences, into questions. So it's just like a mess, you know. It's very difficult to read. So grammar matters, of course, and he will pay attention to different structures. Yeah. And to just yes make conclusion that while once we are going to analyze this poem, we will pay attention to graphical, grammatical, phonological, syntactical, and lexical levels. That is just for you because Valentine's Day is soon. Yes, and you can use, for example, this because it's very nice phrase, especially when you organize everything properly in syntax in order the person to whom you send such a Valentine can understand that you keep close within your heart that person's heart. Okay. Well, but nevertheless, let's move. Here it is. We will listen to first because we should listen. I don't know whether the sound is good. Tell me, please, whether you hear.
I Carry Your Heart with Me by Edward E. Cummings.
Do you hear the sound? Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, perfect. Let's listen.
I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I'm never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true. And it's you, or whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing, is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than the soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart.
Okay, so that is the version that I mentioned to you sounding. So when we hear, I just okay, when we hear, and the way I try to, to find the original text in order to show you that we should analyze the proper, yes, in order to understand generally the author and what is the meaning, to reconstruct the meaning, the world he presents to us. Certainly we should find the original. That is why originals, they are so valuable in arts, for example, yeah, and in everywhere. So that is why they cost so much. And yes, I deliberately put for you different variants because look, it is the first version. And that is further versions already. And if you pay attention, I like this punctuation here very, very much. And for your Valentine's, I would recommend if you are going to use it, this version, because have a look. First, it is like our phone within which, yeah, these brackets, squared brackets. I carry your heart with me. And very close, this bracket to show that you are part of me, your heart is part of me, and it is within me. Yes, so it is like me, uh, that's enclosed in that bracket, and then your heart is partially me as well. Yes, so that is included within. And here, if you pay attention, already have the space, which shouldn't be. The author didn't plan any spaces, you see? And also here it is absent the bracket and here it is given. That is also the way, the open way for your interpretation. Maybe you do not close the person, you just take it within but not close into your heart. Yes, so give some space for that person at least. Okay, so but then we can also, while analyzing and paying attention to the syntax, you will see that once you citate it, no spaces with these brackets. Have a look. You see, no spaces, and I like it very much. And this is I fear. It's not here and not here. You see, it's here like a separate line to that is what I mentioned to you for foreground. Foreground, it's not background because here it is like background, like all the way, like you see, we cannot figure out if as some specific meaning, separate meaning or separate idea that author would like to emphasize. Yeah, and here it is. And everything influences our interpretation. That is why when I am told that people, for example, English speaking, French speaking people, they always like to tell that they know, for example, they read Taras Shevchenko, of course, in French or in English, then they haven't read anything, you see, because it it's impossible to assess the author in translation. It's something different. Yeah, it is maybe close rendering of some ideas, but it's not the same. It's like Hemingway. You can read, or Cummings, you can read in translation. Yes, but it's not the same. It's not that Cummings that is in original. And of course, you should read originals in order to understand and find original text. So today we're going to analyze, of course, this part. First, we start analysis with the form and formal characteristics. The first form we heard. By the way, it's also interpretation, because when you read, you figure out some ideas, you make some accents important for you, and then you present according to your understanding of this text. So we heard one of the versions, of course, one of the interpretations, and you possibly could present it in some other way. Okay, so that will be your task for your seminar, to prepare a reading of the poem. You should choose yourself by yourself where you like, present it by reading and analyze. Yes, you tell me what is specific, how you understand, which word you reconstruct out of the text. Okay, so here it is. We reconstruct some person, of course, with the feelings. And according to what we heard and now what we see, we understand that these feelings. So first of all, the person, the Cummings, as the author, his miracle character, perceives himself being just like any ordinary person, because no capital letters. And it is about feelings, because we don't see spacing between these marks here in the first paragraph. It's like inside world, inside, which is inseparable. It's everything that we keep in our mind and we cannot separate. This is for university, this is for my home, this is for eating, this is for crying, this is for singing. It's together in our mind, it's our world, inner world, our emotional state, which is not inseparable. Now that is, this idea is shown by this punctuation, violation, of course, of grammar. Then, do you see any full stops here? No, because in our mind, in our world, which we have here, yes, our memory contains, we don't have any full stops. Absolutely nothing. It's just one idea. Then we have some other idea. Then we'd like to drink. Then we'd like to eat. Then we'd like to listen to music. Then we'd like to look at the screen because the teacher gives the lecture. You see? So it's everything. Here is the cat, here is the dog, here is something else, here is I playing the video games, and while listening to the teacher, or maybe not listening even, yes, and so on. Well, so that's our world all together here. But we have some other points. Look, they just to separate a little bit ideas, but just to show that it's our world together in a world. So then, if we analyze the meaning, the context, we understand that it is the man who describes his beloved. Yes, he has deep feelings for her, and I like these repetitions. Here is the root of the root and the bad of the bad. So it's very important for him, this metaphorical implication of some image plus repetition that emphasizes it, and the sky of the sky of a tree called life. You see, so everything is given nature. So the images are taken from nature. So it's very clear, we understand it, but the author implies this is the method of parallelism when we try to explain our inner world through real world of the nature. So that is why we can speak that rain cries because we're crying, we're sad. So just like a little bit explaining through nature phenomena our inner world, because it's abstract. You see, we should find something real, something measurable to express something that is inside and we cannot measure, touch. Yes, we can just feel and how to explain with the language. Of course, through something real, through some objects of reality. Well, and the last line that compares things. Here it is spaces and so on, no spaces. I carry your heart, I carry it in my heart and enclosed already in brackets. We are just to finish the poem. It's like the world. Yes, here it is in square brackets. The whole world of me and my feelings described in this poem. Okay, just to make how it should look like your analysis, because mine is just like what I feel, what I yes, a little bit emotional, of course. We cannot live without emotions. Even your neutral style of lecture contains my emotions, of course. It's inevitable. You see, I can reserve my emotions, but they are for sure. Well, how should look like your analysis linguistic? You should write 4 stanzas, 1 stanza, 4 lines, 2, 3 stanza, 5 lines, 4 stanza, 1 line. Okay? So then, unusual capitalization, for example, I, that is introduced the meaning of the person in English world, because for example, Ukrainian world, we do not use the capital letter. But we have yes, with the capital letter, which to show the respect to other person. Uh, in English also they have, but in specific cases. And we very often use that capitalization to show respect. But yes, so absence of this centralizing of yourself, then unusual spacing, patterns of lines, use of parentheses, brackets with the ideas that are given like explanation, yes, widening the sort of idea, unusual rhyming. Yes, we haven't paid attention that there is no rhyme. If you read it, it creates some melody, some rhythm of um, of the poem, like the rhyme is absent here. Only in some lines. Look, nose grows, a bad hide, not full rhyme, yes, a part doesn't rhyme with anything. And here it is, no rhyme, you see? Okay, so specific rhyming, refrain, use of refrain, so repetition, metaphorical statements. Of course, we mentioned about that imagery, specific personification, so the nature acts like a person. And of course, then we can describe already specific words. Nouns, for example, which nouns were taken, which verbs were taken, which adjectives the author employs, okay? Just to finalize our analysis. And then we can make a conclusion. The poem I carry a heart with me, I carry it in, is about a deep and fond love for a beloved that transcends the soul. Edward Cummings has compared the beauty of a girl with the world, with the moon and the sun. We come to know uncontrollable passions of love and devotion of the beloved. Cummings explains this through his style and rhythm, by the expressed patterns he observed by playing through words. And he beautifully describes the selfless and the idea of love or lover for his beloved. One of the versions, yeah, interpretation, of course. Something like this. That is how it should look like your preparation for the next time. You prepare your poem, you read it, present it. Yes, you say what we have, and whether we have rhyme, whether we don't have, and something like that. Make some conclusion about it, about your impressions. Oh, so thank you for being present with me today during the lecture. I will write you in, yes, your instructions, how to prepare for the seminar. See you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye. So I don't know how to stop it. Okay. Mm. Mhm.